talking about the history of Minitab and Prolink, I can't really take credit for the idea here. We believe in following the best ideas at Minitab. Jason can talk a little bit about that later. He's heard that a lot. And different colleagues of mine, who have different experiences with Prolink over the years, had approached me about really looking into Prolink. When I looked at Prolink, the first thing I saw was unequivocally best in class automated data collection for measurement machines, inspection machines, period. Which is a really important thing for customers because they need to collect their data before they do anything with it. So that was the first thing that attracted me to ProLink, to really help our customers solve another problem, and that's data collection. But as I dug deeper into ProLink, I was frankly surprised and thrilled at the breadth and depth of the offering. Um, ProLink really offers customers a different way to do statistical process control. It's something that everyone should be doing both as part of their quality control and frankly their quality assurance on their suppliers. And it's the easiest to use. So I love the offering. I love the brand. And then, frankly, I love meeting with Jason and Bruce. And maybe Jason, you can kind of talk a little bit about the history of ProLink, because I think that's an important aspect of what makes ProLink so special.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so Prolink was founded about 42 years ago in 1983 by Bruce Brigham, along with three other partners at the time, a statistician, another programmer, and a sales guy. And over time, it grew fairly slowly. At the time, they were all working for Pratt Whitney in East Hartford, and they got permission, of course, to start the business because it wasn't competitive. And they grew it very slowly over time, and slowly, Bruce either bought out, the partners or whatever, and then went solo for many years until I joined in 2005. And I officially took over in 2012, as the original plan of his was to sort of bring me in, and then kind of transition so that I would take over as he wanted to basically go into retirement. So yeah, that's kind of the history, and I've been running it since right up till the deal. So
And Jason, maybe you can talk about. I know we've spent a lot of time talking about how you viewed Minitab and what really Bruce's perspective, because I thought it was great to hear directly from him and you about Minitab and your thoughts even before we started these type of conversations.
I mean, oh yeah, I mean we've known about Minitab for obviously many years, 20, 30 years, whatever, as the really undisputed statistical leader in the industry. I mean, Minitab was bar none. And just in terms of volume, Minitab got in on the Six Sigma wave really early, and did quite well, both in the university setting and obviously eventually in more of the industrial side. But and actually, we even proposed in 2009 to work with Minitab on the Office Buddy, which was a product we had developed that would actually automate the running of Minitab reports. We traveled to State College and visited with some folks there and everything like that. And it didn't work out for whatever reason, but we were super excited when it kind of got revived in the last couple of years. Started talking to different folks at Minitab, for kind of looking at a partnership possibility. And then Josh was on a call in late 2024 and proposed a bit more of a deal.
Yeah, no, I mean what I love about ProLink is, and Jason, I appreciate, the respect you all have for Minitab, but ProLink is no slouch when it comes to statistical analysis and what it does. And I think that's why it's such a great marriage, frankly, because we are both the best at what we do. And now coming together, we really have a broader way to help customers. And then, as Jason sort of said, the third point is that integration piece. which frankly Prolink started years ago with the Office Buddy, which is now, by the way, called the SPC Office Pro, which will be available soon. And that actually lets you literally connect from Prolink to Minitab statistical software. And shortly, you'll be able to connect Prolink to Minitab real-time SPC. So I just think there's so many synergies that ultimately, when you look from a customer's perspective of ways that they can reduce costs, reduce waste, both ProLink and Minitab can help them, and both really work hand in hand together. Jason, maybe you can sort of give a specific example of how you would take the ProLink data and leverage the Office Pro into Minitab, just to give them a flavor of what that really looks like.
Well, yeah, I mean, so Office Pros that has two sort of main claims to fame. It's a very simple little program, but it's used to automate charting and things like that out of Minitab statistical software. So one of the most common things we run into in the industry, and we see it all over the place with shop floors, and we went into a lot of customers that would spend a lot of time taking data from whatever the equipment was, maybe putting it into some notepad or writing it down or whatever, and then they would end up typing it into Minitab statistical software. Inevitably, the goal was to run a capability 6-pack, which was very typical of the customers. But the problem was they often had a lot of characteristics they were measuring on each part, whatever they were manufacturing. And there is no way to import specification limits into the charting in Minitab statistical software. So one of the things we discovered early on was kind of a back-end session command window, or session command language rather, that we could use. So we were able to actually automate all of that directly from our software. So we already, like Josh said, there's not a lot of overlap between the software products, which was really one of the beauties of this particular deal. We really kind of had a lot of shop floor data collection covered. Minitab had all the statistics covered. So when we kind of brought the two together, we took all that data that we already collected without any manual typing or whatever, and then we're able to automate all the reports in Minitab, all the charting. And that was the first sort of claim to fame of Office Pro. And then, once we kind of figured that out, we said, well, where do customers really need the data? And the first thing, when you go to any customer in manufacturing, the first thing they ask you is, can I get that in Excel? And so for better or worse, Microsoft Excel became a reporting tool, even though obviously it was meant as a spreadsheet tool. And so, but it was something everyone is familiar with. Everyone had it on their desktop, and it was just a very easy way of becoming a report template, so to speak. So what we did is we automated all that data, both raw data, statistical data, things like statistical calculations, and the charts right out of Minitab, which we would simply save as images. And we would automate the actual Excel report itself. So whatever custom Excel report you were already producing, whether or not it had charts, could be automated soup to nuts from the data collection all the way to the final report. And we would take reports that would take sometimes an hour or two to manually fill out for a customer every week and reduce them down to 20 seconds, 30 seconds, as fast as the computer could run. So we called it part to chart. But and so you'd measure the part, it would come right off. The data would show up. They'd hit a button. It would pop the data into Minitab, run all the charts, save all those as images, paste them into the Excel spreadsheet, and pop out a report on the other end. And we sold a lot of them for many years because we found that about 80% of our customers on the shop floor had Minitab somewhere in the shop floor. And so, for us, it was actually kind of a way to sell better because, most of our competitors would walk in there and say, oh, I see you bought Minitab. You should throw that out and use my tool instead because mine's better, which of course would always result in somebody telling somebody there that they made a bad decision. Instead, we would walk in and say, oh, I see you bought Minitab. That's wonderful. Here's our product that will connect the two together. And now you can really get the ROI out of both products. And people loved it.
Yeah, Jason, I love it. First of all, culturally, love the culture fit here because of the leaning towards innovation and leaning towards the customer, right? We're trying to do what's best for the customer here and always trying to improve ourselves. And both these companies have a long history of continuing to evolve. I think what really excites me is customers have different parts on the journey, and they also understand different pieces of this. With ProLink and Minitab, you're really connecting the shop floor to the engineers. In many cases, they're already connected, which is great. But if you're not, whether you're missing the automated data collection piece, or you're missing sort of a deeper analysis to do root cause, because there's a lot of great analysis in ProLink as well, which I'll have Jason talk about, maybe QC Mobile, which is now part of the SPC package, because that's a really interesting innovation that they came out with. But fundamentally, we're really giving you soup to nuts from the shop floor to the engineer on how to, frankly, run a quality program, or at least leverage the solutions to do that. But like I said, there's a lot of cool stuff people probably don't even know about. I touched on QC Mobile, so Jason, I'd love for you to talk about that because I just think that's super cool. It came out just a couple of years ago, and growing rapidly. So go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, what happened was we had spent a lot of time working on data collection, as we've been talking about, and the shop floor side of that. And that is an enormous amount of work. We support about 320 different makes and models of every piece of automated equipment that we seem to run into, and then a whole bunch of others that are just one-offs that customers had. So we had, the first 25, 30 years or so of our existence was really spent building out that, along with manual data collection through QC Gauge, using handheld tools like calipers and so on, and all the different compatibility stuff you have going on there. And also adding programmable logic controllers. So we had this sort of universal data collection thing going, which was wonderful. But in order to get into the larger companies that wanted more sort of high-level reporting across the plant, maybe across multiple plants, across the corporation, and more data visualization, we needed to really kind of take all that wonderful data that we've been collecting and actually do something with it. And it was also a way to compete with some of the other competitors that were in the marketplace that were offering a lot more of the charting and things like that. Not really Minitab so much. It was more the other competitors that were more on the SPC and the industrial side. And so Buddy, that didn't hurt at all to have SPC Office Pro out there. So anyway, yeah, and so what we ended up coming up with was this concept of what I like to call producer and consumer. And so now that you have your data, let's say, you have a couple of engineers who are the producers of data visualization or reports. It may be a shop floor map with live and on lights. It may be, or stack lights or whatever. It may be physically connecting to a stack light out on the shop floor via an IP address. It may be alerting someone that it's time to measure more parts. But whatever it is, you've got a couple engineers who understand how that works. They become very proficient in using the software and setting that sort of stuff up. And they produce visualization, they produce reports, they produce maybe exports, dashboards, things like that, right? And they target those to various groups or individual users throughout the plant and perhaps throughout the corporation. And so QC Mobile, which Josh mentioned, is really the delivery mechanism for the consumer side of that equation. So the producers, of course, there's only a couple of them really, and they're just, they're creating all this stuff and getting it automated and then setting it up on a timer to sort of run. And now the consumer is consuming this information and visualization via a web browser. So there's no installation on their local PC. They simply log into the browser. And they can get a hold of all that data. And sometimes it was as simple as a QR code scan with your phone as you're walking through the shop floor. You hold up the phone, scan the QR code, and poof, you'll see all your charts, for that local manufacturing cell maybe, and what the quality is doing there. So it was really, the idea was to take all that data that we've been collecting down on the shop floor and to be able to connect it to the people who really needed it. Sometimes it might be the CEO or a managing director. And oftentimes those people don't even know the word QC Mobile. They don't know what product they're using out on the shop floor, much less their user ID and password. So if you can QR code the data, a QR code link effectively directly to the data and directly to that visualization, he or she can be walking through the shop floor and say, what are we doing here? How is this? What's the quality metrics of this cell right here? And be able to hold up his or her phone and get directly to it without a lot of roadblocks. So that was really the goal behind that, the sort of visualization side of what we created in the last probably about 7 years. We actually released QC Mobile in 2017 for the first time, and built it out a lot over, especially like, last 7 years.
That's awesome. No, I think, look, my perspective is if you want to be the factory of the future, right? And I know that concept is out there and people want to grow there. It's so hard to sort of think of digital transformation. And I love the expression, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? And what ProLink and Minitab really enable you to do is create a holistic quality program at the shop floor level, frankly, at the organizational level. One of the most important things that Jason just mentioned is oftentimes quality is something we take for granted. We expect things to be right, correct, high quality. There's a lot of work that goes into it. I think people do themselves a disservice by not sharing that with those consumers to understand what's really going on at the factory, because it requires a lot. And there's a lot of data analysis, and a lot of that analysis frankly, can be transferable to other areas of the organization by building skills and whatnot, and creating a leadership around people who are able to do this. But fundamentally, going back to the factory of the future, I just like the idea that, you can start with automated data collection with ProLink. And if all you want to do is check if you're in spec or out of spec, great. Now we think you should be doing more than that. So don't hear that as a ringing endorsement if that's all you should be doing. But minimally, you want to be doing that before you ship product. And frankly, you want to be doing that before you actually put raw materials or supplied components into your production line, because of the expression garbage in, garbage out. If you're getting stuff out of spec from the get-go, it's not surprising you're going to get out of spec coming out of that line. So that's the simplest place to start. If you're there already, I think one of the exciting things Jason has really done over the years, and you just heard about one application, is build out the way to take that data seamlessly and frankly do more with it. And there's ProLink opportunities with that, like what Jason talked about. There's also Minitab opportunities where you can use the data. So it's really a nice way to grow your program, and grow your frankly your abilities to reduce costs and reduce defects. I think one of the things people maybe don't appreciate that don't live in this world is, whether you're in quality or continuous improvement or manufacturing, every year you're asked to make improvements. So you need a diverse toolkit, if you will, to continue to make those improvements or frankly accelerate them. And so if you're a ProLink customer and you're not using Minitab, or you're a Minitab customer and you're not using ProLink, you really should be looking into the other one, and frankly, how to connect the dots here. It'll give you a more holistic picture, and it'll also give you, frankly, more ability to, like I said, reduce defects, reduce costs, improve your quality. So, Jason, Minitab, we actually talk a lot about culture. We talk about following the best idea, but we talk about being, all about the customer. It's always great to hear a perspective, somebody I know who actually had a very similar culture at ProLink. That was one of the things that attracted us to ProLink. But talk about your experience now as part of the Minitab family.
It's actually, obviously, well, the last couple of months have been obviously quite busy. There's a lot of change going on in terms of how the product offering is going to be lined up, and things like that, and licensing. So obviously we've been busy, but overall, I'd say, it's been fairly smooth. We've had folks from State College visit us at our Connecticut office, and vice versa a couple times now. A lot of that has been discovery, but also is really kind of team building, and the people at State College have been really super welcoming to us. I've even had people from Scotland at a recent acquisition at Simulate reach out, and say, hey, welcome, and can we chat? And and so and we did, and it's been great just to kind of share that experience, how they went through it a few months before we did. So kind of seeing what changes they ran into, and good, bad, or ugly, whatever. But it was all, it's all been pretty positive, and I think the the culture at Minitab is really the people have been really welcoming and happy to see us. You know what I mean? So it's been a very good experience, and I think I can speak for a lot of the people at Prolink that feel the same way because they've been in the meetings. We've all been in the Teams meetings, obviously, when we're not physically on site, and everybody's always very understanding, and so it was good. It's been good.
No, Jay, it's great to hear because I think one of the things our CEO Jeff Slovin always says is software companies are all about the people. So one of the big things we look at when we look at partnerships or acquisitions is not just the software, the people. And we're so thrilled to have you and your team, frankly. And for those of you out there, if you get a chance to be on a call with Jason, if you have a problem, Jason's seen a lot of different shop floors and factories in his day. I won't date him. He's a young guy. I won't date him, but he's seen a lot in his days. And he's just a wealth of resources and knowledge to really help you ramp up whatever it is you're doing. So, Jason, thrilled to have you and the team, and thanks so much for your collaboration throughout this whole process. And looking forward to many years of success together.
Thank you, and likewise.